Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to a new brushed micro FPV quadcopter. This is the IDEAFLY OCTOPUS Racing F90 and it's a brushed model but super lightweight, but coming in 2S setup, so probably a little bit more powerful than I guess the Racing QX70, the direct competitor of this model. We have on the top of it installed on this rounding balls and 600 TVL FPV camera coupled with a 25-48 channel video transmitter. Okay, and for the board we have a classic F3 board, to be more precise, NSP Racing Evo. Okay, and well, this model comes with the FlySky version. You can have also a FlySky compatible with FHD S2A or DSM-DSMX Spectrum compatible. The FlySky version is not in D8 version but in D16, so we can expect a much better range. Okay, and more ability to bind it. Let's check the content of this box. Okay, here are all the elements. First of all, we'll find a piece of paper for the FlySky D8 receiver, and we have a Gaion model. That's great. So an XM, to be more precise, with only one antenna. So it's connecting with the D16 protocol, and the advertising range is beyond 600 meters. That's great. It's working between 3.5 volt up to 10 volts. So you have also a phase-safe procedures. That's great. Okay, and just need to press when is bound, but anyway the binding procedure is still the same. While powering, you will have to keep pressed the binding button to enter into the bind mode. So we have also a very beautiful and color printed instruction manual where you will be able to find all the characteristics, okay, and all the route of the button, how to bind you the three choices of receiver, okay, and I would say the more important, the 6 bands supported by the video transmitter and how to set. So a short press to cycle between the 8 frequency inside the current selected band, long press more than 2 seconds to select one of the 6 band, okay, and probably if you keep it pressed much more than 5 seconds, you can select between NTSC and pale source. One remark, probably there is a button hidden in the FPV, I would say, canopy mount. So what we'll find in as accessories, a USB charging ending with the 2S ballast and plug, of course compatible with a LiPo, so delivering up to 1.2 ampere, okay, and a bag with 4 spare props. There are some 3-blade edition, and to be more precise, is written somewhere, they are 43 millimeters. Okay, I can give you immediately the length, for example, of the half of it. So we have something about, yes, 22, so they are, to be more precise, closer to 44 millimeters. 3-blade edition, I think it's a good choice between 40 blade, okay, but super stable, but reducing the shot, the flying time, and versus 2-blade with a good flight time but not so stable for the FPV. So I think the 3-blade edition is probably the best choice. What we have also, we have a prop remover wrench tool and the LiPo. So it's a super tiny compact 2S model, 300 mAh with a discharge rate of 36. That's great, ending with a GST connector. So let's give you immediately, for example, the weight of it. So 30C should be a little bit more heavier than a direct 20C competitor. So we have 16.4 grams, and if you need the exact dimension, we have something about 43-44 millimeters for length, 17 and by 11.3. Okay, so pretty compact. Balancer plugs, that's great. So now let's have a look to the quadcopter standalone. So I really like the design in green, but maybe there's some other color. So as I said previously, you have this FPV camera installed on top, the linear antenna, well protected, and two small holes here. So on the left one, you will have the video transmitter selection button. So you need a very thin tip to access, okay? And you can hear a click when you are done. Okay, so be aware. And usually you can guess the buttons through the external, but you have a small click. Okay, like this. So it's very hard, and probably for the pale and NTSC selection you should have something around here. So maybe versus time you will need to drill a hole, nothing on the other side, no selection button. So it's missing a hole, okay? And you have a small angle, as you can see on the parallel, something about 10 degrees. So it's great for FPV. Not ultra aggressive, so but it's more or less a mix between an indoor flyers and outdoors, so you shouldn't have a very aggressive pitch angle. So 10 degrees, 15 degrees is okay. So let's measure the weights before without the battery. So we have some 2S 8.5 millimeters by 20 coilers motor, so we are exactly 44.4 grams, which is not bad at all, because we have kind of prop guard system, and with the battery we are reaching something about 60.8 gram, which is a very good weight. Okay, so let's continue to describe the machine. On the bottom side we have a carbon frame, a next design. For me, the carbon element is a little bit flexible, so the thickness should be not so important. Let's try to measure it. We have something about 1 millimeter 30, so be aware versus time, versus crash, especially when you see that it's not full plane, you have some hole, you can damage or maybe broke here on the intersection section. So could be probably the weakest point of this machine, the robustness of the X lower carbon frame. Anyway, what we can find on the bottom side, a micro USB port for connection with a Betaflight 3.0.1 pre-installed. Is not the ultimate one, it may even more older one now, so I strongly advise now to install a more recent one. On the other side you will find the receiver. Don't worry, don't panic, it's normal because we need to access to the bind button, and the bind button is this tiny golden button here, super tiny button. This XM D16 compatible physical receiver is very tiny and should weigh around 1 gram. You can see that we have jail into the heat-shrink tube of the long antenna, okay, but it's connected through, seems to be, no, it's directly soldered, no IPX connector. So as soon as we'll bind it, you will need to push inside, and I strongly advise to more install the antenna vertically, so by drilling, for example, a hole more here, okay, and to let the antenna pass through. So to access to this part, you will need to remove the upper canopy. So by removing this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, okay, of the lower structure. So as soon as the binding is done, you should do this job. When you turn on the machine, okay, by the insering the GST connector, you can hear a beep. Battery here is very good news, and you have a small white LEDs for front to keep your orientation in lost condition, and a blue on rear. That's great. Maybe a red would have been a little bit better for night flying. Okay, and the receiver is waiting for the binding. So no specific light to, for example, to guess the video frequency. So it's a little bit tricky, but you have to know that for example, if you long press on the button more than 2 seconds, you will change the band, and as soon as you're changing the band, you will return to the first frequency. So if you don't know in which band you are, select, for example, the first frequency of your desired band, okay, and long press 2 seconds like this and cycle like this, and versus time, you have 1/6, you will go to your favorite selected band, then perform some short press to select your very specifically your desired frequency. It's a trick to do. First, to identify your wanted V-band, and then fine-tune the selection by sharp press it. What we have to do now is to show you how to bind, but it's exactly the same than the D8. You have to short press, okay, this button, and while pouring, let's do it. Okay, the binding procedure. So on your Devo, you have to select the D16, and it's nothing else than the Sky X. Okay, if you have a Taranis, you have to select the D16 mode. So pre-insert the GST connector, not completely, okay, and then keep pressed with the right finger, for example, the bind button here. I hope you will be able to see. You don't very feel a click when you click on it, so it's a little bit hard to guess if it's pressed or not. But when you insert, you should have a small green LEDs with a red one on the right, like this. I've got a small green LEDs. Then go to the bind and press bind like this, and the red LEDs should flash. Okay, mean that now it's bound. To confirm, we have to turn off everything. Now I will return on the quadcopter, turn on the radio, and we have a solid green LED here. It's bound, no problem. Unfortunately, at least for my Devo controller, I don't have any telemetry information. I don't know if this Sky receiver offer it or is coming from my radio. I don't have any piece of evidence for one option or the other one. So now it's time to discover the basic and the default Betaflight 301 configuration, and I will probably upgrade to the last Betaflight version. Let's go. Okay, so let's connect to Betaflight. And we have here, so it's normal that the quadcopter is in clean because the USB port is installed below. So when you are inserting the micro USB port, it's normal. So it would be a little bit tricky to calibrate the accelerometer in this way. But for example, install the quadcopter onto 4 small glasses, and it will be okay. So let's check the port. And be aware, if you need to reinstall everything, you have to turn on the MSP on UART 1. I don't know exactly why, but for the S-Bus, be sure to turn on the serial for UART 2 is really important. So let's check the configuration. We have a Quad X, no specific board alignment. Be sure to select a brush, okay, and as well the minimum value. So if the motor is spinning too fast, maybe reduce this value to 1050 or 30. We have, as expected, a serial receiver with S-Bus connection. We are monitoring the VBAT, okay, with the minimum cellular value, the warning, no specific optimization has been done. The frequency for the PIDs is 2 kHz and 8 kHz for the gyros. Maybe with the Evo we can upgrade to 4 kHz. Okay, and let's check the default option turn on. We have the black box, not really necessary except if you want to optimize your PIDs, and the transporter, so should be both last options should be turned off. For the fail-safe, we have a drop, that's correct, and let's check the specific PIDs. Okay, we don't have as think some specific PIDs. There are the Betaflight 3.0.1 default one. Okay, so we can probably a little bit optimize them. Okay, but I will fly it first with the default from Betaflight 3.1.7, the last build currently. So for the receiver, I will turn on the radio. Okay, and be aware by default the channel mapping is will be compatible with the Taranis. For my Devo, I have to change it to Aaron first. And be sure when it's bound that everything should be okay, and you will have to play with the subtrim to center all your channel onto the 1500 values, okay, and as well between 1000 to 2000. Okay, I've got actually 2 aux visible, so probably you will need to apply some deadband, okay, if the machine is moving standalone, so it's always good to add some deadband on the deadband and the RC in general. At the flight mode, okay, we have, as you can see, only angle and one is down. We have here, when your flight controller switch is in the bottom position, we are selecting acro. I'm surprised to not see, for example, the bother associated with an AUX2. Okay, so of course, when I will show the installation of the last build of Betaflight, I will proceed. So everything is okay, and let's check the version install. So we have an SP Racing F3 Evo board 3.0.1. I strongly advise always to dump all the default values, to copy it into a text file, okay, and in case of emergency you will be able to restore your default file, okay. Save it like this into a dump file, and if you need to restore it, paste into the CLI, and don't forget to type the save command to restore everything. So now I will install the last build of Betaflight. Okay, so let's go to the firmware flasher sections, and we have to load the SP Racing F3 Evo. Should be around. Okay. Okay, here, and select the last firmware available, so 3.1.7 actually, and be sure that if there is a problem of flashing with Betaflight, especially if you don't have any DFU compatible firmware, you will have an error message here. So let's first load the firmware from internet and then try to flash, and we will see if we will have an error here. So let's start flash, and as you can see, I've got an error. Okay, it's written port. This is a problem with my DFU. How to proceed? You will have to go to the our device manager, and please display the hidden unit here, okay, and then go to the USB controller, and at the end here you should have something written STM device in DFU mode. Okay, so right click on it and say I want to update the driver. Okay, and if you have, for example, the driver fix, okay, software, or here I will use the default DFU driver given from deviation from the FieldSky receiver of the Taranis. I've got it already pre-installed somewhere on my computer, so I will select from a list among, and I will use this STM bootloader. So I will click on next, okay, and it will install. Now I will close, and I will disconnect the USB, okay, and I will reconnect it. Now, in theory, when I will press flash, it will work. So you will see a DFU mode on the top right. Okay, let's press flash. As you can see, we have the DFU and it's flashing correctly. Verifying. So now it's okay. You reboot. But in any case, I also advise to disconnect your USB one more time and reconnect the USB. Okay. So now I will press on connect, and everything is here. I've got, and let's check that, I've got the last version. We have 3.1.7, so everything is okay. Now it's time to reconfigure everything. So I will press connect, connecting. Okay, so let's check the port. Very important, turn on the UART1 MSP and the serial for this UART2 for the ASBUS FieldSky D16 receiver. Press save and reboot, don't forget. Connect. Okay, and go to the configuration panel right now. Be sure to have a brushed here, okay, and you can disconnect this option if you want to have a separation between PWM and with the default Betaflight. So no specific board alignment while selected. Now we have to select a serial bus, and in S bus connection. So we can still monitor the VBAT, no problem. So we can maybe reduce the values it was written. So something like this, if I'm not wrong. We can probably also select a little bit higher frequency. Actually, we have in 16%, but probably we will reach about 20-25%. So what we can do, we can disconnect, turn off the black box, the transporter, and the SD card. Okay, but keep it the telemetry. If you have a Taranis, could work. So I will press save and reboot. Press connect one more time, and this CPU load is just a little bit increased. That's great. So let's go to the face safe. It's okay. I will keep it like this, and let's check now the PIDs. We have the default Betaflight 3.1.7. Okay, and I will immediately increase the rate according to my favorite choice. So something about more 800 degrees, okay, like this per second. And for the more linear answers, so I will have to more apply something like this. So we have more a linear curve. For a small machine, I will also decrease the strength of angle and horizon, sorry, for 30%. And I will press save. Okay. It's down, no specific filtering setting. Actually, let's go to the receiver. I will turn on my radio. Okay, so by default I'm the right selection, and look that good news, we have the RSSI available on the auxiliary 2. So if we have an OSD, it should work, and on your Taranis you should have an RSSI feedback. I don't have it because I've got a simple Devo 7A, and since the memory is limited, they remove the telemetry feedback for the basic Devo 7A. But if you have a Devo 10 and so on, or the ultimate Devo 7A with an upgraded processor with 256 kilobytes, you should have the telemetry. But the good news, if you will have an OSD with this receiver, thanks to the probably channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we should have probably the last one, the 15. Here you can select probably the something around 15. You can select to send the information to an OSD. We don't have, so it's a close question. So let's apply some deadband. Okay, like this, and press save. No problem. So I will try to see that I can harm. No problem, I can harm. And let's go now to the mode section. So I will apply my favorite. So first flight mode in angle, okay, for one, no reason for the medium, and acro plus air mode for both horizon, and I will also apply the anti-gravity more for the acro mode. Okay, so that will perfect, and I will add now beeper more to the upper value of the switch, like this, much more for the aux2, like this. I will save. So let's check that. We have angle, horizon with air mode, and acro with air mode and anti-gravity. Let's check the beeper. Great, now I will be able to localize my lost machine into tall grass without problem. So now it's configured, and let's check a little bit the status. Okay, and everything sounds good. So we are low CPU usage, sounds great. So now let's go to the field. We'll reinstall the FieldSky receiver into the main canopy, and to protect it and drill a small hole on the rear side to install more the antenna vertically. Welcome to the outdoor demo of the Octopus F90. As you can see, I drilled this small hole and start more vertically on the rear side the XM FieldSky D16 receiver. I just also pull on the cable block partially on the H-ring tube to extend a little bit the block section. One important remark with the Octopus, you can see that the gap between the props, the 44mm, with the prop guard system is pretty low. You have just a fraction of 1 or 2mm, and I strongly advise with a small tweezer or screwdriver to raise a bit motors, okay, to enlarge this gap between props and the prop guard's main axis. Okay, so let's go for a double fly. I will fly in stabilized and more in acro. Let's go.